And that leads us to Justin Jefferson. He has finished his rookie contract. He is embarking on his fifth-year option, and he is waiting patiently for a long-term deal from the Vikings. Last year, there were negotiations that went right up to the wire at the start of the season. As we reported at PFT, basically the ball was in the Vikings' court. And I talked about this with Paul Allen of KFAN, Voice of the Vikings, last week. I think I wrote something about it. Something I said or wrote last week got picked up by the Twitter bots. Sorry, I don't mean that in a pejorative way, even if I do. And it gets characterized a certain way, and people react and respond. And here's the bottom line, and I've been saying this for months. The Vikings have an approach to their long-term contracts that they aren't deviating from with Justin Jefferson. They deviated from it with Kirk Cousins. Full guarantee at signing. The Vikings don't like to, but for Kirk Cousins, apply a full guarantee beyond the first year of the contract. They want the full guarantee for year two to become activated in year two. It gives the team, in theory, an out, like the out that the Raiders used with Derek Carr. He had a full guarantee for year one. His full guarantee for year two was not fully guaranteed at signing. There was a window for the Raiders to get out of it, and they did. The Vikings don't want to do full guarantee beyond year one. The only exception they've made is for Kirk Cousins. So, are they going to do it? I mean, it's not about how many dollars they've offered. It's about how much security they're willing to offer. And I was poking around about this a couple of weeks ago, and somebody said to me, do you know what he said no to before the season started? It's like, well, I don't, but I do know this. There's a structural component. Full guarantee beyond year one. And it's funny to see people reacting to, and I get it. Vikings fans don't want to lose Justin Jefferson, and they don't want to hear from anyone who is suggesting that they might, even if that person is right. It reminds me of when I was trying to tell folks in St. Louis, the Rams are going to leave, the Rams are going to leave, the Rams are going to leave. And the response was, you're making it up. You don't know anything. You have no sources. The Rams aren't leaving. And part of that is just human nature reaction to news we don't want to hear. It's the equivalent of plugging your ears and saying you're not listening. And I'm seeing that now, and I'm sensing that now. And of course, if Justin Jefferson ends up being traded, either because the Vikings choose to or because he runs out of patience and he says, I want out, like Stephon Diggs did 4 years ago, those people aren't going to say, hey, you know what, that dumbass was right the whole time. They're just going to say, oh, you got lucky. Blind squirrel found an acorn. And again, this isn't some hot take. This is a specific reality of the way the Vikings negotiate. They're one of the few teams that do this, and it hasn't really had a spotlight on it. They made the exception for Kirk Cousins. They gave him typically 3 years fully guaranteed whenever they did the initial contract in 2018 and the eventual extensions. There was never a long extension. It was always 3 years guaranteed, 3 years guaranteed, 3 years guaranteed. For Justin Jefferson, as of last year, the approach was full guarantee for 1 year. And then after that, it's an injury guarantee that becomes fully guaranteed the next year, but the team has a window. If they decide, for whatever reason, to end it, they can. And you never know what's going to happen. Do you think Derek Carr expected to get cut after 1 year, after he signed his long-term deal with the Raiders? No. That's what security is. It gives you one less thing to worry about. Is it reasonable for Justin Jefferson to think he's going to play so poorly in the first year that the Vikings say, you know what, we made a mistake, we're going to rip this up and move on? It's not reasonable to be concerned about that, but it's smart to have protection against it. That's what security is. And that's one of the things that I think has been a major impediment to getting a deal done. And now, because the Vikings have waited a year, it's only going to get more expensive. And, you know, the philosophical question the Vikings have to ask themselves is whether or not we even want to pay Justin Jefferson market value. That's another issue to keep an eye on as it relates to the receiver market, because the receiver market is becoming a lot like the running back market. You can draft guys who can play at a high level. And you could make the argument that only a select few receivers deserve $30 million a year or more. That's the high watermark right now, even though the Tyreek Hill $30 million per year is fugazi because there's a big number on the back end that drives that average up. It's more like 27, 28. Regardless, there may just be a few guys that deserve top of the market. And what you have to ask yourself is, if I have a guy that wants top of the market, like Justin Jefferson, am I better off reallocating? Am I better off going younger? Am I better off trusting we can find another Jordan Addison out there who could become the new Justin Jefferson in the Minnesota offense if they would move on from him? And can I send him to a team that would be willing both to pay him what he wants and give us significant draft pick compensation that maybe could then be turned around and used to get up to the top of the draft and get a franchise quarterback? I said last year, if the Vikings don't sign Justin Jefferson to a long-term contract before the start of the regular season, you have to take seriously the possibility that they will trade him and use whatever they get as ammunition to trade up. They're starting at 11. How far do they have to go to get a franchise quarterback? Because I believe at the core, what they want is a long-term, year-to-year, 10 or 15-year franchise quarterback like Fran Tarkenton, and they haven't had one since Fran Tarkenton. They thought maybe they had one in Dante Culpepper. He suffered a serious knee injury October 2005 in Carolina, and that was that. They want, I believe, franchise quarterback. And trading Justin Jefferson could be the key toward getting the return necessary to move up, if that's what they want to do. It's a risky move because you're going to have a lot of upset fans if Justin Jefferson is no longer a Viking. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.